All right, guys, welcome to episode 17.
Are we on 17?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think
I'll
so.
take your word for it.
No, that's a lie. We're on 18.
See? Now
Soundtrack
you
episode
suck.
was 17. I know. But the good thing is I'm going to cut this out and no one will ever know.
No, you have to leave it in. Anyway, in today's episode, we talk a little bit of gaming news regarding...
Phil hits me with some news.
Yeah, Minecraft getting a Telltale episodic series.
Yep.
Evolve is evolving.
You used that joke twice.
Yep, I like it. And new word from Miyamoto about a possible Nintendo console in the future.
Also, we talk about some games we're playing, including I first talk about some Halo digital series that have come out, and then I talk about new Telltale games, including Game of Thrones and Tales from the Borderlands.
Yep, and then I do a quick run-through of Xbox and PC games I'm playing, including beating Peggle and some PC games I think that are good recommendations.
All right, guys.
Enjoy
that was
the
like
episode.
a 10-minute intro. Thanks for listening. Bloop, 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 bloop.
It's the 5th annual Holiday Spectacular podcast episode.
But the first one we've actually aired.
Yeah, we've been doing these for so long now.
Yeah. All right. Let's start this thing.
Okay.
All right. I guess welcome. Oh.
Come on.
Perfect timing.
Put your phone in gear.
All right. Why don't you start the podcast?
Welcome to This Isn't Fun Anymore podcast. My name's Phil.
And I'm Chris.
Today, we're going to go back to our roots.
Yep. Just the normal. We'll call it the normal format of the show.
Yeah, the two of us staring at each other, nothing else in the room, just looking into each other's eyes.
I mean, that's what we
talking.
did last week, though.
Well, we looked at your computer
That's true.
first, and I looked at my phone, pull up some songs. So this is just us gazing into each other's eyes. Talking about some news. Talking about some games we're playing.
Yeah, the return of some game corners.
Game corners.
Yeah.
Is Destiny coming back?
Yeah. Well, the DLC came out 2 weeks ago, so.
Okay. So yeah, Destiny corner.
I figure I
will
should
come
talk
back.
about it for a second.
That second will probably be an hour. Just heads up.
Yeah.
Um.
I got some feedback from that, though. Jake said he really liked those and he missed those Destiny corners. Also, speaking of Jake, he had a good idea. He thought that you should play Destiny. We should do an episode where we record you playing Destiny.
Okay.
So you give feedback on the fly of what you think. So whether it's you tearing the game apart or it's whether you're presently surprised by certain things, he thinks it would be interesting. It's like somebody that hates Activision or somebody that already hates the game without playing it plays the game. It could be interesting. Because
Alright.
either you love it or you hate it, but either way it's going to be interesting to listen to.
I will sign up to it.
Okay, cool.
Not this episode.
No, not until the next year.
Yeah.
2015 year.
2015. Thank
Yeah.
God. I'm gonna need some time to prep.
We should do the first episode of the year. We should do like a New Year's resolution for the podcast. I think.
Sure. I already got one.
Okay, I got one too.
Does
Let's
it have to
save
be
it.
video game related? Because I was
It's
just
got to be
gonna
related
say
to the
I wanna-
podcast, but it doesn't
I
have
want
to be
to
video
be
game
more.
related.
I want to be more hydrated.
Okay, yeah, that's
Drink
fine.
more water.
That's fine. Just for the podcast, though.
Just for the podcast.
Okay, that makes
For
sense.
the rest of my life, I don't care.
Yeah.
Soda, Aju, like anything. I'll just drink salsa out of the jar.
Yeah, that sounds
Okay with
good.
that. We're already wasting time, and we have a lot to get to.
That's true.
So let's.
How about you news me this time?
I'm gonna news you up.
Yeah, news me up. I'm all
Oh.
ready to go.
Okay. Well, here's what's in the news this year.
Already nailing it, Phil.
Yeah, I'm not a good newscastman.
Yeah.
So Telltale,
Uh huh.
the
Never heard of them.
Yeah, company that we talk about probably more than anything.
Oh, do they do the Walking Dead game?
They do The Walking Dead.
Oh,
They
okay.
do Wolf Among Us.
Yep.
They do Tales from the Borderlands, and they do
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
Uh-huh.
And now they are working on a episodic Minecraft game.
Of course they are.
A story-based Minecraft game.
Because when you play Minecraft, as most people have, you think, oh my god, this is just ripe with story. This is overflowing with story content.
Yeah.
How is this not just a standalone story simulator?
Yeah, I mean, when I look at Minecraft as a whole, the first thing I give it high marks for is its story.
Yeah.
Its background, its history. I don't even know what other people play it for. I'm just playing it.
Right. You prefer to just watch other people play it just
Yeah.
for the story.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like the cutscenes, the
Yeah.
dialogue, just God, everything. The choices.
I mean, yeah, those cinematic cutscenes they have are just so like almost photorealistic at this point.
So I'm gonna guess that you are not in favor of this decision.
On paper, no, I'm not. I think it's them just trying to cash in on a popular franchise. And I was kind of thinking about it last night that they're kind of turning it their whole series, the Telltale games, has kind of just become like Lego games, where it's like they're just going to license different popular things and then make them, and some of them are good, some of them are not. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, that's how I feel like that's the direction they're going with these things. So, I mean, I don't know why. They're kind of like, basically like, they could just make any story they wanted and then just impose the visuals of Minecraft, and that would be their Minecraft story. Because there's no story in the game at all.
Yeah, that's the thing. I guess my problem with this, I have two. One is that I feel that Telltale is, once again, we've talked about this, kind of spreading themselves a little thin. Having 6 different series going at essentially, one time. Because you know that they got to be working on Wolf Among Us
Season 2.
Season 2.
Yeah.
Probably Walking Dead Season 3.
Right.
Game of Thrones is still in the process of all coming out. So is Tales of Borderlands. Or is that the whole season already out?
No, just one episode for both of those new
Yeah,
games.
so they're working on those. Now you're going to talk Minecraft. And wasn't there like another one like a long time ago that they were planning of? But I can't even remember. But like now they're just... I think it's they're Guitar Heroing their own company right now.
Yeah.
They're like, let's just keep coming out with stuff until people get sick of it.
Right,
I
which
love
is going to be
Telltale.
soon.
Yeah. I love the stories they tell.
Oh, wait a second. Hold
on. I love the tales that they tell.
Wait. Oh my God. Mine's being blown right now.
Yeah.
On air.
But at the same time, from like a game standpoint, it doesn't pack a lot. Like, I couldn't play only those games because, like, yeah, I get the story, but sometimes you just want to shoot a dude in the face.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get that from these games.
It certainly, like, fills a niche, and I think it's an important one. Like, I enjoy playing their games because it is a break from my other games, which are typically shooting guys in faces. So, yeah, I know what you're saying. Like, yeah, it's a fun thing. It's a distraction. We were all blown away that the first season of Walking Dead won, like, Game of the Year and all that stuff, because it was a point-and-click adventure. Yeah. It was so outdated. It was just a story-based game. But now they're kind of pushing their luck.
Yeah.
Like, I want them to succeed.
I do and I don't. I want them to succeed because I love Telltale, but I kind of want them to just get like a gut punch and I just want one to fail miserably just so they go like, hey, maybe we need to re-hedge our bets and focus on a couple franchises and do them amazing as opposed to do every franchise okay.
Right. And I think if any of them so far, it's probably going to be the Minecraft one, because even though there's a lot of popularity behind it, I think it has the least amount of pressure on it to be successful.
Yeah.
Because obviously the two that have already come out, like Walking Dead was so high just because the first season was so good. Then the other one's tied into a well-known comic book, and then Game of Thrones obviously is a huge TV show and also a huge following based on the book, even though this one's based on the TV show.
Yeah.
So it's like they have a lot of pressure to make sure those are good. But, like, Minecraft, like I said, there's no story. People can't be like, oh, you didn't use the source material, because there isn't any.
Yeah, they can essentially do any story.
So I think if any of them's going to fail, it's probably going to be this one. But, like we've both said this before, I'd rather them be doing Season 2 of Wolf Among Us than spend resources and time on other things right now.
Yeah, I want all of them to have the power of those two first seasons, Walking Dead 1 and Wolf Among Us Season 1. And I just don't. I think now that they're just, like I said, they're not going to be able to hit those highs because they're just going to be, everyone's dispersed. But that's enough about that news.
But I will say, just a little teaser for later on, I did play both Game of Thrones and Tales from the Borderland last night. So we'll talk about that in what we're playing now.
Okay.
But give me some more news. News me up.
Next news article, we've talked about the game Evolve. Evolve is evolving is the headline.
Phil, you're getting good at this.
I know. I was born to be a newscaster.
Yep.
They have added a campaign.
Yeah, like what they would call a campaign. There's a specific name for it. I'm not sure what it is, but it's basically, isn't it like 4 or 5 of their game modes kind of string together to give it an idea of a narrative?
Yeah, I mean, what I understood is it actually has like a narrative now.
Well, I know there's a cutscene at the beginning. They've showed a couple of
Probably a
cutscene
cutscene
trailers,
at the end.
right? Because that's kind of what they did. There was
Yeah.
like one cinematic cutscene, and then everything else was like, as they sort of loaded in the map, there was like a little bit of dialogue to tell you, oh, you're at this map, you gotta get to this place.
Yeah.
So I heard all of the modes are available to play on their own, but they, like I said, they string together like 4 or 5 different types of missions. It's supposedly, it all takes place over like 5 days, so that's why I think it's 5 missions, and each is like a different game type on a different map.
Yeah, I was gonna say because it's a campaign. They added 3 game modes, and then there's more casts of characters.
Yeah,
Um,
and they've announced the last monster, the
yeah.
third monster, which is, have you seen it?
yes.
It's pretty cool looking. Like, it looks a lot like the Hydra, the second monster, or the Kraken, I believe is what it's called. But it doesn't actually fly; it just like hovers. So it looks the
It's like
same.
a helicopter.
Yeah. Well.
Because helicopters can't fly.
Yeah.
No, that's science.
But yeah, it's called the Wraith, and it's kind of, I guess it's kind of like a spirit woman sort of thing. Like, it has an abduction ray where it can pull in one of the hunters to sort of separate them. It's got a decoy which it turns invisible and sends out one that kind of looks like it that sort of does stuff, so they attack it. Also, like, it can climb like any wall. So even though it's not touching any surface, it does sort of like slither up stuff, which is pretty cool. And it's got a supernova where it just goes like aggro and goes crazy and thrashes around. So it looks pretty cool. But I guess it's the weakest out of all of them. So if you were to categorize the different monsters, like the Goliath is like super strong brute soldier.
Yep.
The Kraken does like ranged attacks and can fly, so they call it kind of like the sniper. And then this would be like your stealth version of that. So like you can turn invisible, you can pull things away from it, but you're kind of weak. You can't just go in guns blazing. So I mean, it's interesting. We'll see. They've still too. Every time they end a video, they show a silhouette of another monster.
Well, I have
And
a
it's
feeling.
a giant monster.
Yeah, I have a feeling that obviously we're still ways away from the game coming out. I imagine that there's going to be, probably one more monster maybe added, like DLC right away.
Well, yeah, there's a monster pack that you can get if you pre-order the game.
Yeah,
So
I mean, they're going to keep pumping out monsters and creatures, and you got to figure, like, those have probably pretty easy for them to release even after
yeah.
the game comes out, is just have, like, new monster for $1, or whatever it's going to be, DLC.
Right.
I have to assume, though, that they're doing this because of our scathing review.
I'm sure they listen to the podcast
Yeah,
when I talked
big
about
fans.
the alpha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how we just feel that the game's a great idea, but how long can one game mode
Sustain.
really carry an entire game?
Right. Also, I don't know if you've seen the trailer. They played a trailer of like how to play offline, how to play the game offline. And it's a 10-second trailer of just somebody unplugging their internet cord from behind their console and then continuing to play. So basically they're saying, like, you can do everything you want offline. You can do everything you want by yourself. There's a thing on the menu just called solo mode.
Yeah.
So that was another thing that I was worried about, sort of, was like, hey, I don't have 4 other friends to always play with, or I don't want to always play online. Is there even a game in here for me? And they're saying there is. So
Yeah. We'll see, though.
we'll see.
I mean, because I imagine it'll just be, it's you with, it's playing Left 4 Dead by yourself.
You're playing
but, like,
bots, right?
Yeah,
So it's
you
not
have
as
bots
fun.
as a computer as the monsters, and you have computer bots as the other characters, depending on who you are.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't really communicate besides, like, maybe pushing a D-pad in terms of, like, go here.
Yeah.
But other than that,
Well, you can quick switch between the different hunters, which is kind of fun if they're AI.
yeah.
But-
But that just allows you to play, isn't it? It's not like you can set
No.
up a bunch of, like,
Yeah.
sequences and just be like, and, like, micromanage everything.
Yeah, it's not like an RTS or something
Yeah.
like that. But I did read one of the hands-on preview of the newer build of the game, so that there's going to be another open beta coming out in January. But they said they played by themselves as the monster, and they said they got destroyed every single time. Like, the AI is still too good. The hunter AI, I think, is still too
Yeah.
well tuned. Where if you're by yourself, you can't really do anything.
I believe it, because when you're the monster playing against humans, you have to count in human error at some point.
Yeah.
Or some jackass who wants to try and solo everything.
Yeah.
But when you're playing against the computer, like, you can't confuse them. I
Yeah,
guess.
they know how to use all of their different gadgets and weapons. Where usually when you're playing with humans, at least at the beginning when I was playing the alpha, it was like people would just use their primary gun and maybe one of their abilities every now and then.
Yeah.
When we were playing the AI, they're constantly juggling everything.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that in general. Like you'll never get the AI to match. Unless you're going to have a very high error rate from your AI. Where they're throwing traps on like a bird. And then...
that would be funny. But yeah, I mean, when I played the alpha, my excitement for the game went way down. But all the news that have come out since then makes me want to take a second look at the game. I'm not sold yet, but I'm willing to give it another chance.
Maybe you'll hop on the beta.
Yeah, I haven't like completely shut it down yet. So.
Yeah. Final news item I got.
Yep.
Out of Nintendo headquarters, they have confirmed that they are working on ideas for a brand new console, but the Wii U is still their primary focus.
I feel like that's almost not news.
Yeah.
Because, in theory, game companies are always working on the next console. Even before their first one comes out.
Sony are doing the exact same thing.
It seems to me like they needed some press, and so they just came out with that so they would be in the news rather than...
I feel like it's bad press, though. Like, it's not news, but at the same time, anyone who has a Wii U who hears that, hey, we're working on ideas for a new console, you immediately go, like... how long's this life cycle going to be for the Wii U? Maybe I'm not going to put any more money into it.
And if you thought about buying a Wii U, but you haven't yet, you're almost like, well, I'm just going to wait.
Yeah,
then.
Now I'll wait to get a new one.
Yeah.
So it's like, while it isn't news, because we know that every company is doing it, at the same time, when it comes out, and whether Nintendo, which I believe it was Miyamoto who actually came out and said it.
It usually is.
So the fact that it's still coming from Nintendo saying, like, we're confirming that we are working on the possibility of a new console.
Do you think it's because people have sort of written them off and thought they were irrelevant and maybe this was their last console? Because I've heard that rumor before.
Well, yeah, I've heard that they should certainly get out of the console business because of that they're not going to be able to compete with Microsoft and Sony anymore. And I don't know that I don't think they'll ever be out because I think that Nintendo is too much of a mainstay in terms of name recognition that there'll always be a niche market for people who just want to play some Nintendo games. Like right now, like I would be totally happy if somebody got me a Wii U because I can still I wouldn't have that many games for it. I'd probably have 5 games tops, but then I could be like, I want to play the new Zelda and I want to play Mario and I want to play Smash Brothers and Mario Kart, and then I'm done. Like I'll always want to be able to play those even when I'm 30 and
but I don't think it can sustain a business that way because they're not the small independent company. They're still spending as much money as the other companies. They're just not, the sales just aren't there. So if they continue doing what they do, which is come out with big budget games like, your Zeldas and your Marios and your Donkey Kongs and all those franchise games, to make those games, you got to spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
So if they're not selling consoles and they're not selling games, they're not going to keep making those awesome games, I don't think.
Well, because right now their essential handheld market is feeding their console market. They're making, because there's no other handheld. I mean, you can talk about the PSP and the Vita, but those are, I mean, they're jokes compared to the DS and the 3DS, and they come out with a new system every week.
A new
Nintendo,
DS.
And people are still buying them. And that is your handheld market.
Right, which is what I think they're going to move into exclusively almost, is that stuff. So I don't, like, if they said, hey, we're not going to come out with a console this cycle, now we're giving up on the consoles entirely, but if they're like, hey, we're just going to do handheld for this cycle, I would believe it, and I think it might be a smart move.
Yeah.
So for them to be like, hey, we're doing another console, guys, don't forget about us, I don't know if that did what they wanted it to.
No. I agree. I mean, like I said, we all knew that every company's doing it, but in terms of, so it's not news, but at the same time, it's not good press either.
Right. I mean, none of the other two, Sony or Microsoft has said that because they just launched a new console last year. They're not going to cannibalize their own market yet.
Yeah. I mean, the Wii U is still is older than obviously the Xbox One and PS4. It came out before.
Yeah.
So like,
but not like years
Yeah,
ago.
it's only been, 2 years? They're on the second year, maybe?
Yeah, barely.
Second to third. That's all the news I have.
Okay.
Which is more than I normally bring to the table.
Thank you, Phil. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So, what are you playing? I know you're deep into your computador.
Deep into it.
You know what we should talk about for a second? Let's talk about what we played together. So we were hanging out, and I went over to your place,
Sure.
and we played a couple games on your computador with a Xbox controller. And what did we play?
We played some basketball because we're always going to play some basketball.
And we won. We played the Brooklyn Nets, and we won.
Yeah, we were the Bulls.
Yep.
We played some Octodad, Deadliest Catch, where we co-opt it, which essentially, we'd be like, how do you co-op Octodad? What it means is that we get assigned arms or legs.
Yep.
And we had it set to randomize after every mission. So essentially we are constantly...
Not just mission, like every activity we completed. So
yeah, I'm sorry. Like every little check in your log.
Yeah.
So you'd be in the middle of like handing something over, and then all of a sudden I'd be in charge of the hands and you'd be in charge of the feet, or something
or like
that.
I had the left leg and the right arm, and you'd have the opposite of that. So so just to recap, so Octodad, Deadliest Catch is like you play an octopus that's trying to pretend like you're a human. So you have 2 arms and 2 legs, basically. The rest are hidden.
Yeah.
And you wear clothes, and you have to do normal things a dad would do. Either it's like mowing the lawn or taking your kids to the aquarium, which is what we played for the most time. Or we went to the grocery store first. But the idea is that your controls are awful, and it's hard to do things, and you're constantly knocking things over, and you can't walk properly.
Yep.
So the fun in the game is that it's so hard to control.
Yeah.
And then to throw into the mix that we had roulette on, where we wouldn't know what we were going to control, and half of us had half the body and the other half had the other, it was just like a lot of fun. I will say, though, that I thought we were a pretty good team. Like, there was only, like, one thing we were stuck on, and it was, like, getting to that top of that giant jungle gym inside of the aquarium. It was to get into that one hole, just because I didn't really understand. Like, I understood the mechanics enough to move around and do all the other things, but I didn't know the specifics, like, I have to hold this trigger and move this to actually move this one arm.
Yeah.
Like, I was just faking my way through it up until that point.
And you were doing a fine job.
Yeah, like, you wouldn't even know the difference, and that was the thing. I didn't actually, like, take the time to spend learning how to do things, because we were just cruising through all of the activities. Like, I didn't even know you could mess up for a while, so we were purposely then messing up to see the difference of what happens when you start messing up.
Hitting a woman in the face with a box of cereal over and over again.
Yeah. It was fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought we were a good team. Like, it was fun to do that together. It was kind of like when we were playing Chariot. We were playing Chariot, and for the most part, like, we weren't talking until there was like the one we were trying to get the secret jewels and stuff. Like, we were able to do those, those co-op things pretty well.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think that just, we both have the same video game mind.
Yeah.
So we don't necessarily have to communicate like, hey, pull it over here, because like in Chariot, like, okay, I'm going to need to do this. So you're on one side, I'm on one side, we both know our roles.
Yep.
Just do it. And the same was Octodad is just like, okay, we know we need to walk over here, so I'm controlling the legs. You don't need to tell me, hey, go walk to that door.
Yeah,
just
like
do
left
it
foot,
instinctively.
right foot.
Yeah. I mean, there are a couple times, the jungle gym was tough. But that, I feel, was really more of the game just showing you how difficult it is to move than anything.
Because there was like that hole in the top of like the climbing wall, but it wasn't like above your head. It was in the middle of everything.
Yeah.
So you had to like move your arms and legs. And the thing is, I was trying to put your arms through the hole and then pull your body through, but you can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't physically use your arms to do anything other than hold things.
Yeah, the octopus isn't that great.
And then when I figured that out and figured out how to move the legs, then I was like, whoop.
Yeah, put your legs through the hole first somehow.
Yeah, of course. Just like a normal human.
I don't think we played.
I think that's all we played. Yeah. No, we played Deadliest Catch for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, because I didn't have the mouse and keyboard.
Yeah.
At the time.
And we were having fun playing that.
Yeah. And then we beat the story of Saints Row 2 finally.
Oh yeah, we did. So what do you think of that? I have a couple of comments as far as how we should change our format of how we talk about games, but we'll save that for our New Year's Eve or New Year's podcast.
Oh my!
So, what do you think now that we finished the story of Saints Row 2?
Well, I'm relieved because there
That
were
it's over?
That some of the story's over.
Okay.
Because there were a couple missions that I'm pretty sure the game was cheating.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
So-
Especially there at the end,
Yeah.
where there was no checkpoints for some reason.
Yeah. So the fact that we finished that, knowing the side missions are going to be A, easier, and B, quicker, and C, probably more fun.
And probably glitchier also,
and
based
probably
on some of
glitchier.
our past experience.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm tentatively excited to finish up the rest of the game, but I also know that we still have so much to do.
Yeah.
Like percentage wise, when we save it, I think we're at like 50 on the dot.
No, I think we're like 60 now. 65,
Okay.
yeah. But yeah, I think we did for the most part play the different gangs in the right order. I feel like the first one was the worst. Like the first one we played the Brotherhood and stuff, and that was kind of cheesy and went a long time. And we did crush that guy's girlfriend in the truck. But then like when we got to like Johnny Gat's story, I thought that was better.
Yeah.
And the final, the Altor thing, which obviously always has to take place at the end, was kind of fun. Where it's like the bad guy's going to give his big monologue at the end to try to convince you that he's not a bad guy, and he gets like a half a sentence out before you shoot him in the mouth.
Yep.
And he goes flying through a plate glass window and follows thousands of stories.
Yeah, bouncing off some things before
Yeah.
he hits the ground.
And so that was fun and satisfying.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm still having fun. Obviously, we can't play it as often as we like to because of prior
Life.
commitments.
Yeah.
But we'll get back into it, and we'll beat it relatively quick. I think the side missions we'll be able to plow through.
Yeah.
So now just solo. Solo, what I'm playing. I'll try and keep it... I won't go into every game for an hour for every game.
Yeah, down to an hour a game, but you can probably do as much as you want.
I'll start Xbox. So I just got a whole list here.
Uh-huh.
I finally beat Peggle.
Yeah, Peggle 1 and Peggle Knights.
Yeah. And nothing made me happier and made me hate Peggle more
Then doing the trials?
than doing the challenges.
Yeah.
Because when I first started, I was all gung-ho about Peggle. I'm like, who can get sick of this game?
Right?
This game's a blast to play.
Yeah.
And then I beat the first set of challenges just from the original game. And then moved on to Peggle Knights. I'm like, I really only have the adventure modes challenges. Like, this can't be too hard. Peggle Knights sucks.
As far as, the trials go, they're super hard.
The levels suck too. Because now that they're like... I would say, like, for most of the original Peggle, like, the levels are all kind of...
The same.
Yeah, for the most part, they're all
Vanilla.
kind of the same.
Yeah.
Peggle Knights, like, they purposely put, I guess, I'm going to call them death spots.
Yeah.
Where, like, there's just not that many pegs at a section of the level.
Yeah.
So if the ball ever goes over there, it's more likely just to drop straight through than to hit something and bounce around to get you more points. And there's so many of those levels and challenges that are just like, get this high of a score. And you're like, I can't. Ah! And you just get so frustrated. I will say that beating Peggle is great because there's only like 12 achievements, including the DLC.
Yeah.
And like 4 or 5 of them had like a 3 or higher ratio. Because they were super
very
tough.
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to warn you going in. Like, those trials take a lot out of you. Like, the game's a lot of fun, and you can get 90% of the achievements super easily, and then you have to spend another 20